Hey, Barrett.
Hey, Tyler.
How's it going?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
So I didn't hear much from you folks, so I assume you're all good to go to run the show today?
Yeah, we are all good to go. I think we've got an exciting lineup for you.
That's great. Did you
We
get any
actually-
responses on the homework?
We did. We did get some good responses. We're going to show some highlights of that in the presentation, and kind of it. I think that the homework probably relates a little more to the conversation for Thursday.
That makes sense.
What it looks like, but there's definitely some good feedback in there. And so we have a couple, we have a guest speaker and another guest speaker today. I'll leave it at that. Just
great. That's exciting.
And we'll sort of explain the Rania is going to be presenting the presentation today. It's sort of, we each have taken one so far, with Rania taking this one.
Nice.
There's Brooke. Barrett, I'm curious, are you guys still families only, or have you extended to like a select pod of players?
Pods start on October 1st. So it's still families. We wanted to give ourselves a few weeks of running our youth programs first to get that in a routine before we reintroduced adult play.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the right decision. I'm gonna make you all hosts again. Rania, nice to see you.
See you, Beth. How's it going?
Great. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Hi, Kifa. Thanks for joining again. I love the artwork behind you. Kifa, you're on mute, but Kifa does a lot of calligraphy and Arabic script in his artwork as well.
I love calligraphy. There's a beautiful calligraphy studio down the street from me, which I love it because she will take commissions and just write books and poetry and cards and manuscripts. It's very beautiful. So
That's great.
Sunday reached out to Dee Dee. Did I tell you?
Oh, no.
Yeah, they're going to be great friends.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for facilitating that.
Well, there aren't a lot of people that look like both of them at Simmons, I'm thinking. Yeah. So they that'll be great. We're very excited.
That's great. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Sunday comes out of her shell in the college setting. She had a breakthrough last summer, so I think that'll continue for her.
Well, she made the call.
Nah, that's a great sign.
I was blown away. Proud of her. This is a big deal today that Pierce is joining us for a little bit.
Oh, you're ruining the surprise.
Oh, that's okay.
He probably already knows. Did you give him a
told Barry we had some surprise speakers today. That's all I told him.
Yeah, we have 2 surprises today.
That's true. That's right.
Chef, I think Chef Lou's speaking on our side today. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
What's his prompt again?
What makes the potluck special?
Oh, what makes a PCS potluck special? Great. That's your prompt, Chef Lou, but you can riff on that.
Okay.
Hi, Tracy. Thanks for joining. Always looking official with the headset. Got Lucas joining from the car.
I got a little lost while biking, so didn't make it home in time.
Oh, that's all right. Kifa, do you have a poem for us before we get started?
Say again, please.
Do you have a poem for us before we get started?
Oh, no. Tomorrow I have a big event, virtual on Zoom, with the Main Humanities Council and working with 7 poets. Yeah, I will be the facilitator. So do you want me to read a poem?
Always.
Okay. Let me see. What kind of poem you think that, depending on the mood?
Oh, one about dreams. So many of your poems are about dreams. What
Yeah,
is
I
it?
have a series of dreams.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe to tell short story about the poem and then read that. Okay.
Okay. We have 3 or 4 minutes before we get going, so I'll let you put us in the right space.
Okay.
Hi, Adam. Hey, John. Hi, Sunday. I think Kifa might read a poem before we get started today. People are just starting to join. Kifa, is this from one of your books?
Yeah, from my book. So, are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. So the story of this poem is called The Dream One. You know, sometimes in life, this is like the history, the journey of our life and that. So I was in a place I don't want to call a prison, in a prison of war. So I was in a place with no windows. So my mind at that time, just like my wish, my hope, just to dream to have a small window the size of my hand. So I wrote this poem, it's called The Dream. I of a small window, through it flows the clean air, looking over a blue sky. White clouds travel through it, flocks of birds pass by like air. I dreamt of a small window the size of my hand, overlooking a sea. My eyes travel in it into distant waves of blue. The yellow sun comes, awakening the morning, and the night comes, inlaid with light. A window into which the snow whispers, suspend in it the moon and the rain. Into it flow the colors of autumn, and in spring, the fragrant buds. A small window in which I count my mornings and my evenings. Nesting in it are my memories. I cultivate in it lush dreams. I dreamt of a small window the size of my hand. I look from it to see my sweetheart. When she comes from afar, she waves to me that she is coming soon, carrying between the folds of her heart happy news. A small window overlooking onto the rest of a new age. I dreamt in a place where my one and only dream was, and all that I wished for was to have a small window the size of my hand. I dreamt. Thank you.
Wow, that's powerful. Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Kifa. It's beautiful in English, and it blows me away that you probably wrote it in Arabic.
Some of them, yes, yeah.
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 I love how you publish your poems in both languages side by side. It makes it really
Yeah.
enjoyable to read. Does anyone have any questions for Kifa before we begin? I'm sure many.
Yeah.
Yeah, where can I find one of your books?
Where can you find my book?
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I have two books. I have the first one is like poetry book. It's called Dad is Still a Dream. It's on Amazon, but also that I have copies with me. And the second book, it's a memoir. It's called Mountains Without Peaks. It's also that on Amazon. On my website, if you go to the website, like abdullah.com, I will put it on chat. And also that I have copies with me if you would prefer any, yeah. But it's easily, you can find it on my website and on Amazon.
Yeah, I'd like the book of poems. I'd like to check it out. Thank you.
You're welcome. So it's bilingual book, like two languages, Arabic and English, on the same page, like to the right. You can write from the right in Arabic, but from left to read in English. Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
Thank you.
Nice.
All right. That was a wonderful way to start our gathering tonight. I'll turn it over to our Perkins and Will team to take us into PCS Expansion Design Committee meeting number 3.
Great, thank you. I'm gonna share my screen here. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the third session. I'm Rania, designer, Perkins and Will. And before we start, we just want to make sure that your screen is on the right position. Just make sure that this is your view at Zoom. Okay, and then, so welcome again. We're going to be learning about our program needs and design. So this is session 3. What is going to be, as I said, learning about program needs, specifics about the common space and the expansion area that we're planning to build together. So this is today's agenda. We're going to start with a storytelling, a surprise storytelling. Second, we're going to do a recap for what we heard from the session 2 and your homework. And thank you for sending that, by the way. We're going to have another storyteller. And then after that, we're going to have a little exercise where we're going to learn about your program needs more specifically. And we have a small discussion about that. And last but not least, we're going to have a guest speaker, Pierce Freelon, who is an expert in creating community and inclusiveness. And he's going to be joining us at the end of the call. Okay. Surprise. So that's the storyteller is me actually. And I just wanted to steal this 2 minutes before we start to say that I relate to your story and I relate to the things that we're trying to build here. A little bit about myself is that I grew up in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, and my parents are originally from Sudan. And there is a place that I remember growing up going to every summer that I used to be very excited about going to. It's called the Mujamma Thaqafi, which translates to cultural hub. And that place I used to go, my parents don't want to go take us to a place where, they don't feel like it's safe for us to leave us alone, or they want to make sure that it's a safe community. So it was a very valuable place for me growing up and learning some skills. So that place offered not particularly athletic or sports activities, but it was more of an artistic a place to learn how to read, write, express yourself if you're an artist. And I remember every summer growing up until I was in high school, I just go there because I have people there who, they showed me how to do things, to express myself, to feel safe, to belong. And it was very important, I understand, for us as Arab to, find a place where we can express ourselves and be in a community where culture is a very in the core of it. So to sum it up, community and cultural places made me who I am today. And today I am an Arabic calligrapher and an artist who do a lot of digital collages, besides being an architect. And thanks to that place, I found my voice and I found the skills that, helped me grow and be who I am today. So, hi, Kifa. Marhaba. Okay, and from there, I just want to do a little recap from our previous sessions, what we heard from you and your voice on our why and how and who. So you told us about the culture and people affected your life at PCS. Thanks to Sunday for your story, very inspiring. You told us that PCS has a very unique culture with a collective background and different identities that you all bring to the space. And you told us that PCS is a very safe and welcoming and inspired place to be. You also told us about PCS identity. It's a very strong, inclusive place to be, and it's a very inclusive place where PCS is, the core of it. The squash is the core of it. Just a second, sorry. You also told us that this is a place where bridges are made between people, different backgrounds and ages. And you also told us it's a very fun place to be and a vibrant place to be. And I'm actually, honestly and personally, I'm very excited to visit PCS at some point. And you also sent us some images. Thank you all for sending this homework and very inspiring images. And I'm gonna show a few snippets of it here, and we're gonna delve deeper into it next session. So few of the images that we got, that you are looking for a place that is airy and open and green with some seating and area for socializing. Another thing that we got that, that there is this, you would like to see a space that collaboration happens, the gathering happens, and maybe a study rooms for students to do their homework. And from here, I'm gonna turn it to Louis, Chef Louis, to tell us a little bit about the PCS potluck and what makes that special.
Well, for me, what makes the potluck special is that one of many things is that I get to meet a lot of the participants, a lot of the youth. I get to meet their families that through the workshops, they tend to relate and discuss various recipes that we do that are similar to what their mom might do or the grandmother might do. And specific recipes that they reference. Not always, but one of the things that really kind of strikes a chord with me is that I'm from a big family, and like 3 times a year we would have these family reunions. My grandmother had 18 kids, and so and my grandmother was a chef, as was my grandfather in the Air Force. So we would have these family reunions that were pretty extensive, pretty, you know, it was quite the spread. And the potlucks for me was kind of reminiscent of that. But the thing that I enjoy most is that, you know, along with meeting all the participants' families and some people in the community, is that all of the food and everyone coming together, along with the food and the recipes and the enjoyment of the communications and the relating to one another, is that all the food, there's a story behind it, and people make reference how on a particular day of the year or a particular time of the year, this is something that their family would put together in celebration of something or another. Also, because they know that a chef is in the house, everyone tries to bring their A game, and they do. They really knock it out of the park, which is really fun, and there's a sense of competition, which is always healthy. Mostly it's about sitting down and getting to meet the kids, you know, their parents and their siblings, and connecting with their extended family, and seeing the light that's in the kids' eyes that I you know, I'm accustomed to seeing that same light in their parents and in their siblings' eyes, and understanding the richness of their upbringing and the support and love that kind of helps shape those individuals, and kind of brings home for me the experience that I have with them on a regular. That's what I enjoy most.
Great. Sounds like a very delicious.
Yeah, it's quite involved and so relaxed, and no one's allowed to talk with food in their mouth. So there's quite the etiquette too, you know.
Great. Can you tell us more about the different dishes or different recipes that bring the potluck at PCS?
Yeah, it's so broad. You have to forgive me, but a lot of you know, not like I can pinpoint the paella that I experienced from one of the kids' families that was quite similar to a paella I made. When I was working at the hotel that involved seaweed. I want to say it was of a Latin influence that had chickpeas and seaweed and roasted tomatoes and plantains. It was a vegan dish that I've since kind of added to my catering menu, that I break out quite frequently, and I feel a bit guilty whenever I present it and get accolades for it, because it's not something I developed on my own. But that's what you do as an artist. You take from your experiences and people that you encounter, that have a particular skill set, and that's how you grow, you know. And I think the thing that one of the many things you get from these potlucks is that the sense of community, in the sense, you know, of family, that everyone's in it together. And I think, you know, that's something that that's kind of dwindling today. There's not the unity and the togetherness that we need as a people to get through these trying times, you know. And so the potluck is, you know, it brings people together, and it unites people, you know. And I think anytime you can bring people together in a common cause and goal, then everyone benefits from that. So yeah,
Right.
that's one of the things I enjoy most, one of many.
That's what we're gonna do together when we can be together again.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm so looking forward to it. I miss the kids.
Great. Thank you so much. That's very inspiring.
Thank you.
Okay, and so now we want to move into a group exercise. We're going to learn a little bit about your program needs and specific spaces in the new extension. So if you don't mind, if you have your phone, go to menti.com. And when you get there, enter the code 3342566.
Will you say the website again?
Menti.com, MENTI.com.
It's on the screen.
Thank you.
We'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
And we say the code. Oh, there we go. 334.
3342566.
What we should do
Perfect.
here
Thank you.
to submit something?
Just go there and wait for me.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Gonna give you a few minutes to get here. Have 4 people in. Great. Thank you.
So everybody notice on the bottom, you'll see that indicates who's in the room. And then as you participate, the level of participation will increase. This number will reflect that. So it's kind of fun. It's okay. If you're having trouble, raise your hand.
I think I'm it. I think I'm in. It just says, let's get your thoughts on these spaces, correct?
Yes.
You're
awesome.
in.
And I'm just waiting. Okay. I'm just not seeing a list of other people that are in though. That's anyway.
You'll just see the number on the bottom, but you don't actually see.
I don't even see a number on the bottom.
No, look on the screen. Look up on the screen. See
Yeah.
on the bottom right where the heart is?
No, I see the heart, and then it's at the bottom. It says powered by Mentimeter and terms.
Right. Are you looking at do you have a computer in front of you as well?
Well, that's what I'm using for the Zoom call.
Oh, okay,
And then I'm
okay.
looking at my phone where I loaded up the menti.com.
Yeah, Chris, you can't see it on there. It's only Rania is sharing her screen on the Zoom. It's the only place.
Oh, I got you. Okay, cool. I mean,
Zoe.
oh, I see it now on the very bottom of the screen, the Zoom screen. I see it 9. Okay, yeah.
Zoe, did you need help?
No, I'm in, but I'm seeing same thing as, was it Chris?
Yeah.
I cannot see numbers either.
That's okay. I think you're in the right spot.
Yeah.
Askar, were you able to get in? I can't hear you, but I'll take that as a yes.
If you're not in, can you just raise your hand? Just raise it up in the air, your real hand.
Again.
It looks like everybody's in.
All right, let's rock and roll.
Right. So first question, choose the options that you think will enhance PCS common spaces. The options are open flexible room gathering, open kitchen for cooking lessons, study spaces for homework and mentoring, cafe, smoothie bar for coffee, performance area stage.
And this is, we're trying to get a ranked list, right, Rania?
Yes, correct.
So you have to pick, the way it works is you pick the first thing that you think is the most important, and then you pick the next thing that you think is second important from the list.
Mm-hmm. Just rank it from 1 to 5 from what you think is most important to the least.
Kind of cheating that we did that storytelling and now we ask about kitchen for cooking, right?
Like, I have a question. So these answers, should we answer, like, again, it varies if you're looking at the age group. If it's for adult, it's gonna be the, you know, the order is gonna be different than it's for youth.
Well, the thing is, we're making one program that's quite flexible, but it's for everyone. So whatever we design will be for all people and all ages. And it can be adapted to maybe support the kids one way, maybe the furniture is adaptable and agile, but we're only making one addition, one little renovation addition. So you
Yeah.
have to think on this one broader.
Yeah.
Right, Zoe?
Yep.
Okay, it looks like open flexible space is the most, it's taking the first place.
There's a big tie going on here,
Yeah, the open
which is
kitchen.
fine because we can have we can do those other things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Everyone get their answer in?
You good? Okay, go to the next one. Or do you want to talk about this? Okay, we'll wait.
We can talk at the end.
Okay.
Okay, so the second question is, choose the options that you prefer for the squash area addition.
I didn't realize you guys were going to sneak this one in. This is good. I don't know how many people are going to be familiar with these options, but let's give them a shot.
Yeah, figured any discussion was better than not being able to, and we felt it fit here. It already came up in some of the other breakout discussions, just the quantity of reports, so it seemed like it would make.
If you don't know, maybe just, you're not going to answer it. How many people know about this? Raise your hand. Who has this expertise? I'll put my hand down. Okay, good.
How many people have ever seen a hardball doubles court?
Whoa. How many people don't know what that is? Yay, Zoe. Okay, thank you for being honest. That's why we have Tyler. And of course the others, but on our team.
Okay, it looks like we have 14 answers. We want to move on.
Oop.
Great. Okay, so this is an open-ended question. You can type in your answer. If there is any spaces that you think we missed that you want to say it's important or it would be great to have for PCS edition, please type it in.
And if there, okay, if you don't think there are any, you can just say you covered it or.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple levels is an interesting one.
Oh, we talked about that today, right, Tyler?
Yeah.
Yeah, outdoor spaces are really important. And get specific. Don't be afraid. I love that you said backyard for summer barbecue. The more specific you want to be, that's great for us and great for planning. Our group talked about this a little bit the other day. Give them a little more time for this one because it requires a little thinking. A covered outdoor space, did someone mean?
Or we covered everything.
Oh, all covered, okay. Thank you for that.
I tried to submit a second one and I don't think it liked that, but I also threw out there maybe a space for a fire pit outside.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's very nice.
I couldn't submit either, but second
Rania,
one, I tried. But
can you change that, Rania?
I was thinking storage.
Can you change that, Rania, the amount of, or is it hard to do now?
What kind of storage, Barrett?
Perhaps something small like dishware and tablecloths, or something bigger like tables. I'm not exactly sure. It depends on the program.
Do you have outdoor storage for a lawnmower or any kind of exterior equipment that you might want to put away or, you know?
Yeah, we do, but storage will just have to be somewhat of a discussion once you all get into your planning, because we're going to be demolishing some of our outdoor storage if we move the parking.
I got your storage in.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, I could enter one for
Yep.
Adam.
I think everybody's, if people are only allowed to submit once, then we're probably pretty good. I like the garden space. Do you think, well, we'll talk about it after. Sorry, Rania. Don't want to go out of turn.
Okay, so next question is going to be picking an image from a selection of images that will represent what your ideal idea of what is socializing or common spaces. So I'm going to share my other screen where these photos are bigger, and you can pick from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 from your phone.
So here you'll just pick a couple that resonate with you most. If you pick all of them, it will be hard to know how to prioritize. So maybe if everyone picked their top 2 favorite, it might work better.
Okay, did everyone pick? Okay. So next space that you can pick from is going to be study areas.
Brian, you wanna, yeah.
Sorry, I had to move Menti. So there you go. This is the
Okay.
6 photos for the study areas.
Can we choose more than one?
Pick a couple, but if you pick 6, then we won't know what you really like.
Okay.
And I like the music, whoever has the music going. That's a good idea, a little background jamming.
That might be me. I'm sitting in a restaurant, an empty restaurant.
That's good.
And I failed to mute, which I'm usually pretty good at.
That's okay.
Okay, can we move on? All good? Great. Okay, just give me a second, I'll move Menti. So here you can pick an image that reflects your idea of the cultural and special event gatherings. These are the 6 photos on your Menti.
Mm.
This is also more about what type of event would you imagine happens as a cultural gathering or a big event. So this varies, like if it's if it's a place for presentations, or is it a place for food, area for dance, or a performance, a small performance.
How many attendees at the squash ball? Would that be the largest event you have?
Yeah, 250.
250, yeah.
How many at a potluck typically?
150.
So the trouble, the trouble is that that's what it is now.
Well, and that's because we try to pack our entire community into the same space twice a year. If we had,
Right. I'm curious. I wonder what you think it might be.
yeah, I think 30 is a more realistic number for, for having multiple events a week. It's pretty easy for us to get 30 people to an event. It's a pretty concerted effort to get 100.
But you don't imagine that the squash ball would get bigger than that?
Well, the squash ball, I don't know. We keep that at $250, and we sell tickets, and we use the whole building, the courts, you know, the halls, everything. But for the smaller cultural events, to, you know, to have a speaker or a community meal, you know, we'd probably be rallying 8 to 10 families for those smaller events.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Next question that's just gonna show up on your Menti is pick a place where best reflects your idea of squash court viewing area. I'm gonna share these options. So these options has different types of seatings, and for the squash court, it can be a place where you can sit and watch the game, or just wait for your turn to go to in and socialize maybe.
One of the things about these areas is typically they have no access to daylight. But we're curious to know how important that might be to you. In some of these cases, depending on how you orient the windows, you can still actually provide access to daylight or to outside space.
Wouldn't like windows on the ceiling also be a possibility? Like
Skylights?
skylight lighting, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it certainly can be. It doesn't, so skylights can certainly provide natural light, which is a good thing. They don't provide any view out, except to the sky. But typically, if you're going to have them skylight in a space like this, you would make it have like a prismatic lens so that it diffuses the light, and so you don't get any glare spots. If you've ever played in a squash court that has a window near it and there's a glare spot, it's awful, right? So that would probably block any view of the sky. So the difference there is natural light versus natural light and view.
Okay. Let's move on to the next question. So the next question now you'll see on your Menti is how do you envision the outdoor space? Give me a second, I'm gonna share my screen here again. These are the 6 options for the outdoor space. So option 1 is more of maybe a temporary stage area. Option 2 is a different type of seating where it doesn't have to be fully shaded. Option 3 is more of an open space for a different type of activities, maybe a yoga classes and different classes. 4 and 5 are different type of seatings as well, more loungy, and at 4 and 5 is more of a scattered seats. 6 is maybe more of a, you know, a place for a bigger gathering, if like a movie night or an outdoor cinema, a picnic space.
This all assumes perfect weather, of course.
Some of them are covered.
I see
That would help if there was less than perfect weather. Obviously, if they're, you know, inclement weather is not going to do much for you. It's an interesting question, though, again, about the climate that you're in and how to make that connection, even though you've got long, cold winters.
None of the options have a fire pit, which is a great option for a place where you're lucky if you get a 6-month season where you can use it outdoors.
You're absolutely right. That I was thinking the same thing.
All right.
Okay. I think that's it for our mentee. And thank you for your votes. Okay, so I want to leave like maybe 3 minutes here for us to discuss if there is anything specific that you guys want to mention about the photos, something we missed.
Can we go back to the mentee, just run through them for, well, it is 5:44. Should we take a break for a second because we'll have our guest speaker come in and then go back and run through the results? Do you have time for that?
Yeah.
Because it's 5:44.
It's gonna join in 1 minute. So our guest speaker is gonna talk to us about creating community and inclusiveness. He's gonna be here in a minute.
Well, let's wait to introduce him when he's here because
yes.
I will say this is a pretty big deal for Pierce to do this. He's typically a keynote speaker at very large conferences, so we are very, I will just say before he comes on that the last time we were, both Rania and I were with him was when we were working on the Harvard Graduate School of Design Black in Design Conference, Black Futurism, and he was asked to be the keynote speaker, and it was a really moving and remarkable situation. Oh, let's let him in. I think you should, we'll highlight, take down the presentation. Pierce, are you in the room? You're on mute.
Pierce.
Okay, yeah, there we go. How's that?
That's perfect.
Cool. Oh, look, y'all got my picture up and everything.
Yeah, because you're famous.
Ha ha ha, that's funny.
So it's so true. Rania's going to introduce you, and I told everyone how lucky we are to have you because you are normally a big deal keynote speaker, and you're coming to talk to this amazing community that does exactly what you do for the young people in your community. So we want to hear your words, and I'll let Rania introduce you and welcome, and thank you for doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Don't make the intro too long. They're gonna get bored.
We will. We'll be sure to do that long.
So yeah, Pierce Freelon, thank you for being here, and we're great to have you. Of course, Pierce Freelon is a musician, director, and a professor who was born and raised in Durham. He's a founder of Black Space, is a digital maker space at Durham, where young people learn about music and film and coding. He's also recently was in the City Council of Durham. And I would let you introduce yourself after that more in details. So before that, I also want to,
okay.
I want to show a little video about Black Space, just to introduce the space and the community that Pierce started. And there you go.
Welcome to Black Space. We are an Afrofuturism digital makerspace based right here in downtown Durham, North Carolina. We do emceeing, we do poetry, storytelling, and we need your help. Afrofuturism is about merging technology, creativity, and entrepreneurship. Black Space is not your typical STEM program. We do culturally relevant STEAM curriculum centering art, centering people of color who are underrepresented in tech. Because Black Space is an organization that helps the youth get into their inner music live, and it's pretty dope. You don't really see that too often around Durham.
Black Space, this is the first place that I've actually felt I found me out at home.
I went home and I couldn't wait to come back. I find it empowering and amazing.
You should fund Durham and Black Space's Afro Future because we are bringing the youth to a whole new level with skill sets that have not been brought anywhere else within this area.
I love that beat.
It's all yours, Breland.
Oh, it's all me. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for playing that video. I haven't watched it in a while. It's a nice vibe. That beat was produced by a buddy of mine named Hero, and he makes beats that pretty much exclusively sample anime and video games, which are two things that I really love. So hearing that music really brought me back. He did a residency at Black Space 2 Black Augusts ago, teaching kids how to make beats. And so anyway, you're reminding me to give him a call and tell him how much I love his music.
You're on mute, Pierce. Just now, all of a sudden.
Oh, that was weird. Okay, let me turn off my Bluetooth. Sometimes that has a weird effect.
And if everybody can go into their view, you can go to speaker view and see Pierce real big.
Oh, see me real big. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Is that better?
Yes, perfect.
And is the sound good? Sound
You're
quality?
good.
Nice?
You're very
Okay. All right. So I was asked to speak a little bit about physical space and the role that physical space plays. And I don't know, I forget how the email was framed, but I can definitely talk about environment, physical environment, and how being intentional about space at Black Space helps us reaffirm our liberation, creative practice. So Black Space is located, we have 2 studio spaces. One is in downtown Chapel Hill, one is in downtown Durham, where I live. And we are in a building at American Underground, which is like this, it's kind of like where a bunch of startup tech companies are based. It's like a startup hub, an entrepreneurial office building. And the space that became Black Space was originally supposed to be a conference room, just an empty kind of blank conference room. And, when I was sitting down with the architects and looking at the design for the space, I had to, you know, we did some imagining. We took what was going to be a closet and we turned it into a recording booth. I tried to make sure that there was lots of kind of glass, and, you know, my dad was an architect, so he was big on natural light, and we're kind of in a dungeony area. So I tried to do what I could to illuminate the space. And one of the first things I did was bring a muralist in who came and painted a like 20-foot by 9-foot mural of like these Black women in this kind of Afrofuturist environment. It really kind of set a tone for the type of work that we do at Black Space, which is work that is creative, that is emancipatory, that is kind of rooted in Black creative and spiritual traditions. And so that mural, I mean, as soon as you walk in, it's a 20-foot mural in a tiny little, you know, conference room. So you walk in and you see it, and it's this like humongous, you know, two Black women kind of swirling around the space. And it really, it's breathtaking. And it was a really important investment, and not a cheap one, to hire an artist to come in and do that. But I think it really sets a tone and helps, you know, is a real visual interpretation and reflection of our principles and our values, which are rooted in, you know, Afrofuturism and radical Black feminism. And so, yeah, we do all types of stuff at Black Space. As you saw in the video, we've got puppets hanging up in the room, these Black puppets from this amazing puppeteer out of Chapel Hill named Jaghetto. We have African art everywhere. We have a bookshelf that's full of rare comic books. We actually have a table that's like comprised of these clippings from different comic books featuring Black, Indigenous, and people of color superheroes. And yeah, that environment, the physical environment that we occupy, yeah, is both a reflection of and kind of reinforces our purpose, which is to sculpt and mold and embody our own superpowers, and our own creativity and our own weirdness and creative spirits and energies. So I feel like that's all of that is amplified by the physical environment that we occupy. And if you were to walk into the space as it was originally designed, with just blank white walls and some, you know, and some fluorescent light bulbs. I mean, we've all been in conference rooms before. They couldn't be more bland and more boring. And I think they're designed that way so that whoever comes in there can, you know, it's like a blank canvas. They can handle whatever business they need to handle, and that's it. They are cookie cutter and basic by design. But we took that very small, very, very small square footage, and we transformed it. And so, you know, now we've got something radically different and really special. And I learned that from my dad. My dad, I mentioned, Phil Freelon, he passed away last year, was an architect. And he was the one who got me looking around at buildings and structures and natural light and arches and all types of architectural features, and thinking about how our physical environment can be both, you know, an expression of a particular culture. It can tell stories. It can shape the way you feel. Like, you know, when you walk into a prison, it feels like a box. It feels like something you can't get out of. There's not a lot of natural light. You know, the bars just, it's oppressive. The structure itself, in addition to the institution that it upholds, the actual physical structure is oppressive. And you know, we want to be intentional about embodying liberation in our work and in our art, but also in the spaces that we occupy. One last story. I can see y'all in the chat mentioning that my dad was the architect of the Smithsonian Museum, and I'll just say something really quickly about that. If you look at the National Mall in Washington, D.C., you know, most of the buildings down there, and this is by design, they're white. They're made with like the same kind of stone, and you know, sometimes cities do that. They'll try to make a certain area, buildings in a certain area, all look alike. But somehow, the Smithsonian Institute and Freelon Ajay Bond, the team that designed that beautiful structure, was able to literally change the complexion of that building by surrounding it with these kind of see-through corona panels that make it look like a shimmery bronze. It looks like a black person on the beach for an hour. You got a little glisten on you, you glowing. It looks like a glowing, you know, glowed up black person on a beach somewhere. It's shiny, it's shimmery, it's translucent, but it's vibrant, and it looks nothing like anything else on that mall. You have the Washington Monument, all these buildings, marble pillars, you know, straight out of Rome, that Roman, you know, European ancient architectural styles. And here is this very African, very vibrant, very funky, very brown building in the middle of it. And it's so radically different from its surroundings, and it really embodies, I think, the flavor, you know, for lack of a better term, the sauce. You know, black people saucy, so we got the juice and the sauce, and that's on full display at the museum. And certainly that's something we try to embody at Black Space as well. So that's that. I don't know if y'all got questions or whatever, but those are my thoughts on the physical environment that we tried to create at Black Space, and a little bit about how my dad's work as an architect, you know, did similar stuff. So that's a good stopping point probably for questions or more different types of interactions other than me talking.
I like to hear you talking. I just wanted to ask one question. I'll open up to the group. This, they have an opportunity to create not just an interior space, but create something that says something to the community in which this project sits. And I think you spoke to that a little bit in the Smithsonian Museum, but what do you think of that? And how do you think the kids would react and the community would react to seeing something that looks more like them and is sort of a beacon of something? What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, you know, it's nice to be reflected in your environment, and you know, whether that's in the curriculum at school or, you know, in the physical structures and the music and the culture. So seeing yourself in a building or in a mural, I think is empowering. It's like having your humanity acknowledged and reflected. And you know, part of the way, especially for Black folks, and I'm speaking as a Black man, as somebody who runs a community center called Black Space, you know, that it's important to acknowledge that white supremacy exists and racism exists, structural racism, patriarchy and sexism exists, homophobia exists. These different structures that dehumanize folks exist. So literally by being and by being seen, those things acknowledge and affirm your humanity, and they are in some ways they can be tools in fighting against structures that oppress people. Like when I look at the Smithsonian Museum, and especially when you go in and look at the exhibits, I see that as an act of rebellion against the metaphorically and physically all white buildings around it. It shines in a way that makes it stand out. And I think that that's appropriate because that is also the legacy of Black creativity and ginga, or you know, that's what they call it in the capoeira, you know, Brazilian tradition. It's like your essence or your aura. If you ever watch like a Dragon Ball, when they're powering up their chi, that's their ginga. And Black people got some pretty interesting ginga, and to be able to infuse that into a structure is an act of rebellion against white supremacy. I don't know if that's a little too nerdy for y'all out there, but y'all caught me on an introspective day, so that's what you're gonna get.
Does anybody want to ask a question? Sunday, you're smiling really big. Does anybody want to ask a question? Just shout out.
Laurie, I'm sorry I couldn't attend from the beginning. I'm at work and I was driving, so I was trying to listen in while doing the driving, but I missed a lot of some points. But I'm just, happy to, hear all these good talks, and I want to see the museum. I'm not quite sure where it is, and very seems very interesting place to see. Is that a museum, or is that or is that a club, or I'm not really sure where we're talking about the space.
Yeah, it's a museum. It's a
Okay.
club for the ancestors. They be turning up at the museum, but yeah, it's a museum. It's the Smithsonian Museum of African American History. So it's like
Oh,
the
okay.
national
Okay.
museum for Black folk,
Okay.
and it's in Washington D.C. It's
Right.
like
Okay.
it's right next to the Washington Monument. The White House is there. The Lincoln Monument is
Yeah.
there. And here is this, literally like a black crown. It looks like a crown. In fact, the facade around it that I told you, the flesh of this building is called the corona, which, no pun intended with what's going on with corona, but corona means crown. And yeah, it's a beautiful structure in Washington, D.C., and it is a club for the ancestors. I like that.
I'll definitely take a look when I come down there. I'm in Maine right now with the rest of the crew here, so I'll definitely like to pay a visit. And as far as the rest of the conversations, again, I wasn't able to participate due to work. But I'm, here listening. So thank you all for good work.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Yeah, I would like to say thanks for making time, and thanks for the real talk, keeping it real. It's important. Appreciate that.
No problem. None of y'all got questions, huh? I must have said it all.
I was trying to leave some space, but I could go all day because I'm with you. I think this kind of community work is an art form in itself, and coming up with your identity as an organization as well. In Portland, we're in such you'll have to come visit us someday up here. Maybe you already have, but our ethnic diversity is really being discovered right now. We had a huge amount of first and second generation families start coming to Maine in the 90s, and Caucasian kids are the minority in the Portland school system in what is the whitest state in America. So it's going through an artistic and cultural renaissance up here. And there aren't, we were a youth-based organization that are graduating into a community organization that's trying to unite the families. That's what this space is all about. We have, the kids have taught us what unity and expression look like, and we're trying to bring that to the adult community here. So one thing, I've got two questions. One is, how do you think we can create a dynamic space that can change and evolve? I'm trying to think about a way that we can capture it, whether it's digitally or through shelves or what, or murals that turn over that can highlight a lot of the different identities in our building. That was just one thing that was my small question. And my big question is, how do you think the museum in DC has inspired the buildings around it? It must have, I mean, it was an incredible project, but it must have been a domino to trigger a revolution in architecture in your city. And here we are trying to build something that's going to break convention in Portland. What do you think the possibility is for us to create that domino here in Maine to get more community voices involved in architecture and design and space? So two-parter for you, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. The second question about shifting the culture, I think you know, the ways in which the museum shifted the culture of DC, I'm not sure about that. I know that it was a real battle for them with the you know, in DC to get approval to do something different. And I know that, you know, Black innovation, you know, especially when it's coming from Black folks, it's, you know, it's met part of the way white supremacy operates. It operates kind of through and at the expense of Black creativity and innovation. It's viewed as a threat. You know, and so I know my dad really had to jump through some hoops in order to transform that institution, but I'm not sure to what extent that transformation has continued to impact design in DC. I'm sure you're right. Like, once you crack open the Pandora's box of being able to do something different, something innovative, I do think that spurs other ideas and imaginations, which is great, because I think that's really important. And I think, you know, if you look historically at the role Black folks have played in this country in various capacities, from cuisine to music, you know, just across the board, fashion, sports, like, we come in a space and we like, that's, we mess it up. I can't use my language because there's kids present, but we, you know what I mean? We get in there, we swish it up. And that's is part of the magic of this really wild kind of paradox of being oppressed, but still being resilient, and still being able to remix, to take those, you know, to take those pig guts and make them chitlins, you know, to take that abuse and make it blues. Like, that's what we do. And so yeah, I think anyway, I don't know if that answers your second question, and I completely forgot what your first question was.
The first one you don't need to answer. I think it was more of a question for us.
Oh yeah, to think about.
Your mural captured your essence, and you know, we haven't answered that question yet. That's what we're doing in this committee together. So we appreciate you for pushing us forward.
Yeah, I mean, my to add to that, just very briefly, would just be talk to people. I think one of the things in my dad's practice that was important to him was crowdsourcing solutions to community-specific problems. Those folks are going to know how to bring the transformative culture that you desire. You just have to ask, and you have to have good community engagement strategies that allow people's voices to be heard. And the extent to which those voices are heard is the extent to which you'll be able to, you know, achieve those inclusivity goals that you set for yourself. All the answers are in the community.
So Piers, please go ahead.
How much of a challenge was it for you to create your space in that part of the country?
Well, and I want to acknowledge too that I saw Tracy Reed's hand up. If we could go to them next, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing: Durham is progressive. Like, we're in North Carolina, but Durham has more like PhDs per capita than any other place in the country outside of like the Michigan area. Like Durham is a black city. The first black-owned bank in the world was started in Durham. First black-owned insurance company was here in Durham. Like, we have a long legacy of excellence and entrepreneurship and creativity, and that goes back 100+ years in this community. So I think when people see North Carolina, they're like, oh, hold up, y'all in this deep South. But it's not like Mississippi. Like, Durham is a highly educated place with a lot old roots and Black economic, cultural, and even political power. One of the oldest Black political action committees, going on 90 years old, the Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People, one of the oldest in the country, is based here in Durham. So, that those roots run deep. And so when you understand that history and that legacy, it's not as surprising that we were planted and have been able to thrive here in North Carolina.
Great. That's great.
Yeah, Tracy.
Hi. I'm an architect in Portland and squash player. And your father's work and career and just legacy is incredibly important, not only on the mall in DC, but within the profession, a profession which still today is over 90% white. And his building is just that specific building is just stunning. And you're right, it does all of those things in terms of changing the narrative. We had an exercise for homework to submit photos of community centers or community rooms, and looking at photos as an architect, they just all seemed so white. And that was my criticism, is I couldn't find one that I felt. And I was thinking of your father's building, actually, as I was looking, buildings that it seems like our architecture is just so Western. And it would be lovely to see this building for Portland do what your father's building did on the mall. But anyway, it's a pleasure to hear you talk about it. And again, your father's probably one of the most influential voices in architecture in recent memory in the US. So thanks.
Oh, thank you. Well, let me offer you some things that I've observed watching him. So I mentioned earlier about community engagement and the extent to which asking folks in the community what they would like to see will help you produce the innovation that may be lacking. When you talk about, I was thinking about the hashtag Oscars so white, with the Academy Awards, but like architecture so white. That's like, what I was thinking of as you were talking. And, my dad did the African American Museum in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that museum was on a really awkward, stretch of land. It was long and really narrow. And in talking with community, there was this biblical reference around Jacob's ladder. And so they built the museum kind of with like a ladder kind of design etched into the side. And that design literally came from community conversations, going to churches, going to community centers, talking to the centurions and the people who've been in Charlotte since before it got gentrified. Like, what used to be here? Whose land is this? Like, those stories helped influence the design project that they brought forward. And I think that, in every community there are those stories that can help influence. And so it's not, like I said, the answers are already there. And for me, the Black experience obviously informs a lot of my perspective and what I've been talking about. But one of the things we do at Black Space before we do an event, we always start with the land acknowledgement that talks about the indigenous folks who occupied this land before it became, the city of Durham and the state of North Carolina. Here in Durham, it was the Occaneechi-Saponi people who occupied this land. They had their own architectural, design elements. And, you mentioned like European architecture, but there's Mayan architecture, there's ancient indigenous Incan architecture, there's African, and Chinese and Japanese architecture. There's so many points of reference and so many opportunities to have a culture express themselves through the way that a building or structure is designed. But yeah, I think just talking to folks is going to help you tap into those stories and those voices, and to make sure they feel reflected in the final product. Cool. So that's it. Y'all done?
Anybody else? Any of the students or anybody?
Okay.
They're starstruck. Look, this was amazing, Pierce, and your energy, and you really, actually, I'll just speak for myself, inspired me, and I know our team, to say, be bold and brave and make sure this building reflects the people that are there and is a beacon that we don't have to be quiet and hide behind another kind of facade other than their own that represents them. And that's kind of what I really love taking away from this. And you have so much energy, and we are so grateful for you to be here. It's such a big deal. And everybody get DAD. That's Pierce's new album he dropped a month ago, and I'm a big fan, you can tell. I follow him on Instagram. He's at the city council now. He's just sort of like this consummate artist and thought leader, and brings community leader. So thank you so much for joining us. And his father has our hearts, because he was a colleague to us. He taught me personally what it is to mentor and bring people together and give back. And I will be forever grateful. I'll try not to start crying.
Don't make me cry.
I know. He's such
I'm one
beautiful,
for the waterworks. So
I know. He's just a beautiful, and his mother is an amazing jazz singer. And so that's why you have this amazing person that has brought all this together. So thank you, Pierce. I think that you inspired everyone. You were a surprise guest, and I'm sure that we will talk about it for a long time after today. So thank you so much.
wow, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed this conversation. I love talking about my dad, and y'all asked good questions, got my wheels turning. So I enjoyed this. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great night. Stay safe, Pierce.
All right, later.
Bye.
Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing.
We're pretty lucky to have that on recording.
Yeah. What did you think? What inspired you? What did you take away?
Yeah, it's wonderful that everything for me, like about art and design, because like in when we talk about the architecture, like each building, it's an art piece, and it's like the light, like a painting, the light and the space, and for exterior and interior, just like the harmony. I think this is very important. And he talked about the mural. They have wonderful mural. And I think he talked about maybe about that original art in his community or in his like Black space. So it's very important, like to look to the building as an art piece. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah.
Rania, do you want to show, does everybody know, who doesn't remember what that building looks like on the Smithsonian Museum of African? Have you all seen it before? Rania will show you, just so you know, because it's such a famous building and it sits right on the mall. What you don't see, the image with the monument, that's what's so remarkable, that one. Yeah. So anyway, it's his mother, Nina Freeland, is a really Grammy nominated jazz singer, and Pierce does combine all that. Sunday, what'd you think? You were smiling a lot, so we know you were listening. She's drinking. Sunday, where'd she go? Sunday, what'd you think?
I thought it was amazing, and you made a lot of important points.
Thank you. Anybody else, please?
Yes, I know came late, but from the last conversation that I heard, when it comes to us here in Portland and regard to PCS, I'm just kind of coming up with ideas now that he kind of mentioned all this culture, and he focused more in one culture, which is Africa and the African art, and to make it known in that environment. PCS, I think we can do that with more in a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial kind of way, where we can think of, we could dedicate every room to a specific, let's say African, whether it's, African general, or we can say Burundian, Sudanese. We have Middle Eastern art, whether it's pictures or some kind of art design. I don't know. I'm just thinking of something that will bring us the whole multicultural, multiracial, multi-ethnic kind of feel to the PCS. Where if we cannot do that outside, we can do that in the rooms. Like whatever the classrooms or whatever. I don't know how many rooms we have. There we can just dedicate it one area that it's kind of like collage of international pictures of the world, representing PCS. I don't know. That's something kind of just came to my mind. Whether it's art in an art form or pictures of people. Well, it could be important people or just people of Middle Eastern. We have already here we're already multicultural, multi-ethnic here already, and we can make it bigger and include those who are not here. Just something that I kind of came to my mind.
Yeah, motif we have here in the building already is capturing our students' photos and their bios or their stories. I'm often inspired by the fact that we're creating. We all come from different places and different cultures, but we're trying to create a new culture here in Portland. I mean, we're trying to define the future together, and so highlighting the people that are writing the future alongside one another, even if it was a multimedia display where you could almost explore different stories and hear people telling their stories in their native languages and translated, or to Alari's point, ways we can make the voices in our community come to life and be dignified and celebrated. And the other thing that hit me was the land acknowledgement piece, and really understanding our place in a system, in a historical context. It's not something we've spent a lot of time doing, but we also hadn't been woken up by Pierce yet. So I think there's lessons about how we can jump into this work.
To follow up on what you just said, I think, they talk about America's first sin was slavery, but I think the indigenous people tend not to be mentioned enough. So I think the fact that he brought that to light was very rich. And I think in the design art, if you go down the path of a mural or some paintings of something of that sort, that'd be nice to kind of include that. I think that would be a nice touch. And if you don't recognize your past, then the future is skewed.
Well, we recognize it's late, but we wanted to give you that experience that we're just so grateful that you had a chance to listen to Pierce and really talk about, with this addition that you're going to do, both inside and out, what kind of statement are you making to the community, and what kind of message and story are you telling? And that will be interesting as you come to uncover what this building looks like through the design process. And that's something that we think a lot about as architects, and we also think a lot about that when we include our branding people. We had a whole section on that, and it may not be in, but we have what we call branding, a branding team that takes all these narratives and stories, and you have a very rich tapestry of community that they bring those stories together and then figure out how to tell them collectively. So it's not, maybe it's not individual stories in individual spaces, but how do you tell that, what's the narrative that brings you together? And they help us come up with those messages. And if I talk to my friends, maybe they'll help us with this, because I think that would be a really important piece of this project as well. So we might be making some calls tomorrow down to Atlanta, because they can really help tie all this together for you.
Amazing. Thank you, Brooke.
I mean, so I don't know, 15 minutes over time here. We have one more session on Thursday, and one of the, I think the takeaway for me was sort of an affirmation of what we're doing here, the importance of all of your voices, and I would also say that your voices are representative of those that that you work with and envision making this transformation of PCS. So, it's a call to you guys to all go back and before we have our final session, see if there are other people's voices that you can bring to the table. That's, I think, the time that I met Phil Freeland and learn from him is that message of being open and willing to listen to what everyone has to say. I think is what will make this project a real representation of your community. So the homework is to think about that before Thursday.
Yeah, our next session is we're gonna delve deeper into the how of are we gonna represent PCS, the physical space. As Brooke saying, we should just be bold and brave and bring all of these voices together in this space. And I think this is this is the energy that Pierce is trying to tell us too, that it's all about the process of making this. It's all about bringing all of the voices that you think should be represented in this space. And I'm tying this to my story that I told at the beginning. Learning, also growing in space that is empowered, that represents you, help you learn, help you grow, help you be a better person. And I think that's what the premise we want to reflect or make PCS about. So. Okay.
No one wants to leave. Maybe we should get some drinks out and have some. Not you, Sunday, though. You're not old enough. Well, I'll take it.
19.
We'll post the info from this session up on the website, and look forward. If you have any further images, thank you to all who shared photos. If you've come across more after the discussion tonight and you want to share, please feel free to send along, and we'll look forward to discussing that on Thursday.
Yes, once again, this is the website where everything on this session will be recorded, saved in that website. And this is the email if you want to send more photos or any thoughts even, just please send it to this email. That's it. So thank you, everyone. It was very
Bye.
inspiring. Great to see you all, hear your voices today. So we'll see you Thursday.
Thank you.
Yo.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you.